Imagine a world where gears whirred, water powered entire villages, and inventors crafted machines so ingenious they'd make your jaw drop hundreds of years before the Renaissance. What if I told you the Middle Ages, often called the Dark Ages, were actually a hotbed of technological brilliance? Did you know medieval monks built devices that rival modern engineering? Or that a single invention from this era could grind enough grain to feed thousands? Today we're diving into the hidden medieval inventions that will completely change how you see this misunderstood time. From mind-blowing mechanical clocks to weapons that reshaped warfare, these creations weren't just tools, they were the spark of the modern world. Stick with me, because by the end of this journey you'll be amazed at what our ancestors achieved with nothing but grit, genius, and a little bit of faith. Let's uncover these forgotten marvels together. Picture yourself standing in a bustling, medieval town square in 13th century England. The air hums with the clatter of wooden carts, the shouts of merchants, and the distant chime of a church bell. But there's something else, a rhythmic creaking, a steady groan of wood and water. You turn and see it, a massive wooden wheel spinning tirelessly, powered by the river nearby. This is no ordinary wheel, it's a watermill, one of the most revolutionary inventions of the Middle Ages. Most people think of windmills when they imagine medieval tech, but watermills were the unsung heroes. By the 11th century, Europe was dotted with thousands of these machines, grinding grain, sawing wood, even hammering iron. The Domesday Book, a survey from 1086 England, recorded over 6,000 watermills in England alone. That's one for every 50 households. These mills didn't just save time, they transformed society. Peasants who once spent hours grinding flour by hand could now produce surplus food, leading to bigger towns, more trade, and a growing middle class. It's no exaggeration to say watermills laid the groundwork for the Industrial Revolution centuries later. I've stood by a restored watermill in rural France, watching the wheel turn with the same steady power it did 800 years ago, and let me tell you, it's humbling. You realize these weren't primitive people, they were engineers, solving problems we still grapple with today. Now let's shift gears, literally. If watermills were the muscle of the Middle Ages, then mechanical clocks were the brain. Before you picture a sleek grandfather clock, let me set the scene. It's 1280, and you're in a Benedictine monastery in Germany. Monks live by strict schedules, praying 7 times a day, and timing is everything. But how do you measure time without sundials, which are useless at night or on cloudy days? Enter the mechanical clock, a medieval masterpiece that changed the world. These weren't pocket watches. They were massive, clunky contraptions of gears and weights, often built into church towers. The earliest known clock, installed in Salisbury Cathedral in 1386, still survives, its iron frame a testament to medieval craftsmanship. These clocks didn't just tell time, they reshaped how people thought about it. Before clocks, time was fluid, tied to the sun or seasons. After clocks, it became precise, measurable, a resource to manage. Merchants scheduled markets, workers timed their labor, and cities buzzed with new efficiency. By the 14th century, towns across Europe competed to build the grandest clock towers, like the one in Prague's Old Town Square, which still draws crowds today. When I visited Prague, I stood beneath that astronomical clock, watching its intricate dials spin, and felt a connection to those medieval inventors who saw time as a puzzle to solve. Their clocks weren't just machines, they were a mindset, shift, paving the way for the modern world. But not all medieval inventions were about peace and productivity. Let's talk about a game changer in warfare, the trebuchet. If you've ever played a strategy game or watched a medieval movie, you've seen this beast. A massive catapult that could hurl 200-pound stones half a mile. Developed in Europe by the 12th century, the trebuchet was the ultimate siege weapon, capable of smashing castle walls or launching flaming projectiles into enemy forts. Unlike earlier catapults, which relied on twisted ropes, trebuchets used a counterweight system, making them more accurate and terrifyingly powerful. During the Siege of Acre in 1191, Crusaders used trebuchets to pummel Muslim defenses, reportedly launching not just stones, but dead animals to spread disease. Grim, yes, but effective. These machines required serious engineering, teams of builders, precise calculations, and constant maintenance. I once saw a replica trebuchet at a medieval festival in Virginia, and watching it fling a watermelon across a field was both hilarious and awe-inspiring. You can't help but admire the brains behind it. Trebuchets didn't just win wars. They forced architects to rethink castle design, leading to thicker walls and rounded towers. Warfare and technology evolved together, each pushing the other forward. Speaking of pushing boundaries, let's explore a quieter but equally stunning invention: eyeglasses. It's hard to imagine a world without them, but before the late 13th century, if your vision blurred, you were out of luck. Then came Italian monks and scholars like Roger Bacon, who experimented with lenses made from quartz or glass. By 1286, monks in Pisa were using crude spectacles to read manuscripts, their eyes no longer strained by candlelight. These early glasses weren't stylish, think heavy frames perched on the nose, but they were revolutionary. They extended the working lives of scribes, scholars, and craftsmen who could now work well into old age. By the 15th century, eyeglasses were a status symbol, worn by wealthy merchants and even depicted in paintings. Data from medieval trade records shows Venice became a hub for glassmaking, exporting lenses across Europe. I wear glasses myself, and when I learned they were a medieval invention, I felt a surge of gratitude for those early tinkerers. Eyeglasses didn't just improve vision, they boosted literacy, preserved knowledge, and set the stage for the printing press. Next time, you slip on your specs, thank a medieval monk. Now let's dive into something that sounds straight out of a sci-fi novel: the astrolabe. This handheld device, perfected in the Middle Ages, was like a medieval GPS, compass, and computer rolled into one. Originally developed by ancient Greeks, it was refined by Muslim scholars in Spain and brought to Europe by the 12th century. The astrolabe let you calculate the positions of stars, determine latitude, and even tell time based on celestial movements. Sailors used it to navigate treacherous seas, while astronomers like Geoffrey Chaucer, yes, the poet, wrote manuals on its use. Imagine a ship captain in 1350, standing on a creaking deck off the coast of Portugal, using an astrolabe to chart his course by starlight. That's not just skill, it's magic born of math and metal. I held a replica astrolabe at a science museum in London, and turning its dials felt like unlocking a secret code. Astrolabes didn't just help explorers, they fueled the age of discovery, proving medieval people weren't stuck in the mud, they were reaching for the stars. But what about everyday life? Let's talk about the heavy plough, a less glamorous but transformative invention. By the 9th century, Northern European farmers faced a problem. Their light ploughs couldn't handle the dense, clay-rich soils of places like Germany or England. Enter the heavy plough, a sturdy iron blade mounted on wheels, pulled by teams of oxen. This beast could slice through tough soil, turning it over to expose fertile layers. The result? Bigger harvests, more food, and a population boom. Historians estimate that by the 11th century, crop yields in northern Europe doubled, fueling urban growth and trade. The heavy plough also reshaped society, encouraging communal farming as villages shared oxen teams. I visited a medieval reenactment in Pennsylvania, where farmers demonstrated a heavy plough in action, and the sheer effort it took was staggering. Yet that effort fed millions. The heavy plough wasn't flashy, but it was the backbone of medieval Europe, proving that sometimes the simplest ideas have the biggest impact. Let's pivot to something more explosive, literally. Gunpowder, though often associated with China, arrived in Europe by the 13th century and changed everything. By the 14th century, medieval engineers were crafting cannons, crude but devastating weapons that could blast through stone walls. The Battle of Crécy in 1346 saw early cannons in action, terrifying soldiers with their thunderous booms. These weren't sleek artillery pieces. They were heavy, unreliable, and dangerous to operate, but they marked the beginning of the end for traditional castles, as no wall could withstand a cannonball forever. Gunpowder also sparked smaller innovations, like handheld firearms, which evolved into arquebuses by the 15th century. I saw a cannon demonstration at a historical site in Maryland, and the ground shook with each shot. It's easy to see why. Gunpowder reshaped warfare, politics, and power. Medieval inventors didn't just adopt gunpowder, they adapted it, setting the stage for modern military tech. Now let's step into the world of books. The printing press is often credited to Johannes Gutenberg in the 15th century, but medieval scribes laid the groundwork with an earlier invention, the codex. Unlike scrolls, which were cumbersome, the codex was a bound book with pages, making it easier to store, read, and share. By the 4th century, codices were standard in monasteries, but their real impact came in the Middle Ages, when monks developed faster ways to copy texts. They invented tools like the quill pen, made from goose feathers, and parchment, made from animal skins, which was more durable than papyrus. By the 12th century, universities in Paris and Bologna were churning out codices, spreading knowledge like never before. I've held a medieval manuscript at a library in Oxford, and the weight of its pages, the smell of old leather, felt like touching history. The codex didn't just preserve ideas, it democratized them, making books accessible to scholars. Then, merchants, then the masses. Gutenberg's press was the final step, but medieval scribes built the foundation. Let's talk about one more invention that's both practical and poetic, the windmill. While watermills dominated early medieval Europe, windmills became iconic by the 12th century, especially in windy regions like the Netherlands and England. These towering structures, with their spinning sails, harnessed the breeze to grind grain, pump water, and even drain marshes. By the 14th century, the Low Countries used windmills to reclaim land from the sea, creating fertile fields where none existed. Unlike watermills, windmills could be built almost anywhere, making them versatile and vital. I visited a working windmill in Holland, its sails creaking under a grey sky, and it struck me how elegant yet powerful these machines were. Windmills didn't just feed people, they shaped landscapes and economies, proving medieval ingenuity wasn't limited to stone and steel. As we near the end of this journey, let's reflect on what these inventions mean. The Middle Ages weren't a stagnant, backward time. They were a crucible of creativity. Watermills and windmills powered progress, clocks redefined time, trebuchets and cannons reshaped warfare, eyeglasses and codices spread knowledge, astrolabes guided explorers, heavy plows fed millions, and gunpowder changed the balance of power. Each invention was a step toward the modern world, built by people who faced disease, war, and uncertainty, yet dared to dream big. I've walked through medieval castles, monasteries, and villages across Europe, and every time I'm struck by the resilience and brilliance of those who came before us. They didn't have computers or factories, but they had curiosity, skill, and determination. So what can we take from this? First, don't underestimate the past. The Middle Ages gave us tools and ideas we still rely on today, from the glasses on your face to the books on your shelf. Second, think like a medieval inventor. See problems as opportunities. Whether you're tackling a work project or a personal goal, channel that same grit and ingenuity. Finally, let's keep exploring. History isn't just a dusty textbook. It's a treasure chest of stories waiting to be opened. Before I go, I want to hear from you. Which of these inventions blew your mind the most? The astrolabe's star-chasing magic? The trebuchet's raw power? Drop a comment below and let me know. And if you loved uncovering these hidden gems, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history's greatest secrets. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Speaking of which, our next video is going to blow your mind. Shocking truth of medieval witch hunts, medieval fear. We'll unravel the myths, the mania, and the surprising truths behind one of history's darkest chapters. You won't believe what we've dug up. See you there.